the dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. It was a nightmare.
Flight 807, you're clear for landing. Runway 7, Bravo. All personnel report to the nearest tornado shelter. This is not a drill.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West, here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Now, as usual, I give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going on in the community, or maybe some pictures. And then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it in. So let's waste no time, folks. Oh, yeah. Let's get to it. Story number 1, Mill Creek Park through the ages. From the days of Idora Amusement Park, Mill Creek Park has survived through the ages and will expand after acquiring 161 acres of land in Smith Township. Mill Creek Park now possesses over 5,000 acres of land and has kept local communities alive when it comes to recreation and tourist attractions. The park has consistently been in the headlines for various reasons in the past few years, especially when it comes to upgrades and improvements. Story number 1 is yet another story to look out for. Doing it in the park. Mill Creek Park. Oh, yeah. Story number 1, big headline. Oh, yeah, baby. Ooh. Story number 2. What good comes out of the donation bubble? Given till it's gone. Local nonprofits have been all over the place scrapping and scraping up every bit of cash that they can get their hands on to carry out their mission statements. For food banks have battled through COVID-19. The nonprofit sector has even had to find volunteers as many nonprofits continue to fall short of enough basic help. That means if you would have predicted that a virus was coming, they probably still wouldn't have been prepared, because who wants to be serving in the midst of getting infected? Now, the constant cycle of grant applications and the still growing demand for donations in difficult times is what got the story in. New pressure has been put on nonprofits when it comes to accountability, and that's what got the story in. That's what also made headlines, because accountability is everything when you're a nonprofit, especially when you got to file that annual paperwork with the IRS. And that's why story number 2 made it this week. Story number 3, Mahoning County Children's Services in the spotlight. Mahoning County's Children's Services sit in the top 25% of Ohio's largest. For face-to-face visits, they also master that, according to a report issued by the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services. The agency specializes in investigating abuse, neglect, and serves as a safe haven for mistreated children. The increased news and circulation about neglected children continues to make headlines, and that's why story number 3 is such a big headline. We all need a little bit of love and tenderness. Story number 3 made it in. Story number 4. How effective is local workforce development? Strengthening the local workforce seems to be a new trending story. The local workforce has been in quite a few headlines due to a number of businesses complaining about the need for more help. Businesses have also complained about a need for more qualified help. If workforce development is the new answer, that remains the top question. Is workforce development the answer to the problems? No, this story is still developing because that's the biggest question. Do we need a workforce development to put people to work? What type of workforce development will they be doing to get people to do work? Big headline on number 4 made it this week. Story number 5. How bad are the local drug problems, folks? They are bad. The centerpiece of this story is, how did a certain portion of the local community get addicted to drugs? That's a big question. For more than 40 or more years, this question has haunted law-abiding local citizens. Now, just about every local family has felt the effect of the drug war. Some say that they're even relatives. They're saying that these relatives got prescribed pain pills and somehow got addicted. Some say it was just hanging with the wrong crowd, and some say that it's that this drug thing is just a disease that cannot be cured. Now, either way you look at it, loved ones have had to stay on high alert in fear of theft, retaliation, and the constant fear of losing a loved one from a drug overdose. Now, the local drug problems remain just that, a problem, and that's why story number 5 made it in this week, because the drug problem is real, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Big headline. Story number 6, Youngstown city budget set at $200 million and a Covelli and amphitheater surplus. That means that there's money, folks, in Youngstown. Surplus for the Covelli and the amphitheater, and the budget is set at $200 million. Youngstown City Finance Director Kyle Miasak will be targeting $200 million of the city's budget for upgrades. So he's going to take that money and they're going to use it for upgrades. A lot of millions of dollars going to upgrades. Miasak continues to credit the CARES Act and other aid programs as the lifeline that saved the city's budget. Now, the Covelli Center and the amphitheater also ended the year with a surplus. All of the budget targeting and surplus goals took place in a grueling battle to recover financially from COVID-19. So the CARES Act came in handy, and other financial things like the American Rescue Plan and all that other stuff that comes along with money. Taxpayer money. But the thing is what happens when the money spins out, and that's the mystery to story number 6. That's why it almost made it to the top 2 this week. Big headline. Story number 7 in the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. I can show you a story, shining splendor and splendid. Tell me, people, what will it take for you to read the stories? I can open your eyes, story by story. Oh, new world, a new fantastic point of view. Story number 7. Just gotta let it out sometimes. Story number 7. Who's to blame for years of crime and poverty in Youngstown? A whole new world, folks. Lack of census data, drug problems, career politicians, lack of high-paying jobs, access blight, high crime rates, lagging education system. Youngstown is no easy fix, folks. That's why we've got to develop a whole new world, a whole new way of thinking. The city is in need of some form of stability, of a stable and stability and some certainty. So who's to blame for years of crime and poverty inside of the city? Is the city's is it the citizens of Youngstown? Is it the city? Is it the elected leaders? As more and more federal aid money pours into the city, taxpayers will be looking for progress, and this question will remain in the headlines. Who's to blame? The story got in after a 64-year-old East Side woman was shot in the head outside of her home. Big headline is why story number 7 almost made to the top this week. Story number 8, the top local headline and developing news story that made it this week. The essentials of mediation are specially tailored, crafted, handmade, hand-read, with just the little touch of love, baby, and joy. Splendid peace and harmony. Every story made just for you. Story number 8, the lucky 8-ball story that made it this week. Whew. I could feel something happening, something tingly in the atmosphere. Whew, yes. Makes you want to smack your mama. Whew. Story number 8. Smack her delicately and then kiss her on the cheek and say, I love you, mama. Thank you for being, give me a chance at life. Whew. That's what stories are all about. So let's get to the top story this week. Story number 8. Ultium cell plant picks up steam, baby. Ooh, boop, boop. Story number 8, 400 employees is the number. That's big, baby. That's money. That's the number that Ultium Cell is requesting, according to a local Vindicator article. That's the number that they're saying that they're looking that they're gonna employ. They're gonna request to employ 400 employees. That's big. That's big news. Now the 3.1 million square foot facility has a price tag of $2.3 billion and sits on 158 acres of land. Whew. Ultium Cell is yet another developing story, shining light on the push for electric vehicles. There are pros and cons in the electric vehicle push, but this story made it in because of jobs. Everybody needs money. Everybody needs a job, and that's why it made it to the top this week, folks. Well, those are our top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I'll be right back with the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories. So don't go anywhere. You're the Mediator. Me, Brian West. I'll be right back.
What does Method8Inc.com Media Center have that I need?
Small prints, event consulting, photography, business consulting, technical consulting, entertainment consulting, fundraising advice, event videography, movies, news, publishing, media, books, entertainment, acting, broadcasting, public relations, access to the visual and performing arts, ink and black ink refills, audio recording, graphic design, theater, minor computer and cell phone repair, and they're located at 5648 Market Street in Boardman, Ohio from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. every Monday through Friday. The list goes on and on. Method8Inc.com.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Media box. Ultium unite. We must fight the forces of evil. In times of hardness and sadness and evil, the united Ocho and Mediabots have come together to fight. And when you decide that you want to smack your brother on national television, the Ocho bots and Mediabots will come together to come and form a place of unity and peace across the world. There's another sign of mediation. Stay tuned for this next episode of Smack Your Brother and Smack Your Mama for Peace and Harmony, which will be united and saved by the media bots, to be continued. Made that story just for you folks. I couldn't believe at the sight that I've seen such evil in the world, but there is a place where you could come to feel better, to love thy neighbor. In that place is mediation. Sundays, even on our YouTube page, all you can see is love and joy in every story, folks. It won't change, Lord willing. Lord willing. Let's sing a song of love and peace through mediation is what it be. Let's get to it. Woo! Autobots, Ochobots, Mediabots, come together. It's all in your imagination, folks. Story number 1. What happens when you hit rock bottom in America? How hard it is to recover. How hard is it to recover? In the pursuit of happiness. Big headline. People often find themselves in some very, very uncomfortable financial situations in America, and what happens in the process is scary. Some people accrue so much debt that the mountain is very, very hard. It's very, very high, and recovery sometimes almost seems impossible. Now, what got this story in is the amazing pattern of how people report hitting rock bottom and some never to recover, and they stay homeless. Now, many say that they try to, when they get a job, something happens, something goes terribly wrong, causing them to not only lose that job, but their ability to pay their rent and catch up their bills. Now, what got the story in is how analysts are reporting on people who hit rock bottom almost every day, and the most amazing talking point in the story is how all these stories seem to somehow have a pattern, and they seem to sound similar. Now, this is somehow they end up in the unemployment line, and when unemployment benefits can't fix the problem, the question is, what can? That's why story number 1 made it this week. Story number 2. The rich have a voice in the budget battle. Or do they? Targeting the rich to save the economy is now, it was not a new strategy. Now, the key to this story is how many people are worth more than $100 million in America. According to a BBC report, there are 20,600 millionaires, people who have a lot of money, access cash in America. There's 20,600 of them. That's almost the accurate, probably an estimate. Now, the report then goes on to say that the White House claims that more than half of the 360 billion raised to account for the taxpayer shortfalls will come from the country's 700 billionaires in a 10-year span. I hope I got that right, but it is referenced on the website. I'm pretty sure I got it right. Now, in this plan, the rich have something to say about this, and each response is different. This story is still developing, because as of now, the rich seem to be footing the bill for America's tax woes, and the poor keep getting poorer. Big headline. That's why story number 2 is such a big headline, because the middle is right here in between my nose. And if you can see it, nobody knows what it does. It does. Because the middle is just that, stuck right here in the middle. Big headline. Story number 3. How effective were the COVID-19 relief programs? This is a short but sweet story. According to an NBC News report, the looting of the COVID-19 relief programs is still trending news. That means people were stealing from the PPP programs. The article states that the PPP loan program was an invitation to fraudsters. That means they found a way to get some of that cash. The fraud amount sits at about $80 billion. That's a lot of money. That would be enough money to finance me, my family, my little cousins, and all of us, to feed us for a lifetime. This story is still developing and could account for some of that money in the budget deficit. So now we see why inflation is so big. That's why story number 3 is such a big headline. Story number 4. Border Patrol doesn't have good news about border crossings. So what else is new? Well, here is one Fox News report headline published March 29th reads that the Border Patrol chief says that the U.S. is on track to hit 1 million migrant encounters in the last 6 months, with more expected. So they're saying that they're going to hit more than 1 million now, but in the last 6 months they've probably in the next to last 6 months, probably more is expected. So I'm sure you get the picture. Now, border stories have remained in the headlines, and pressures on the Biden administration to do something about this problem. Now, one opinion piece by Brandon Jude of Fox News says that Biden's policies will only cause more border problems. So, I mean, there's a lot happening in story number 4, because the border stories will make you wipe your eyes, and it'll make you blow your nose, because it'll make you cry, because of the sadness at the border. That's why story number 4 made it this week, because something is happening at the border, and it's not good. It has to stay alive to keep these stories alive. Well, folks, those are our top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made us. I'll be right back with the top 4. So don't go anywhere. You're on the Mediator. Me, Brian West. Right back. If you want to check out the stories that almost made it in or did make it in, go to our Twitter feed on our website. Check out everything. All of the sources are there. It goes to the website. It's method@inc.com. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week.
When I was just a little boy, my mama gave me a story to tell the world. When I was just a little boy and my sister smacked me on my cheek, I got excited and told a story. You know, life could be so much easier if you just tell a story and sing a song to share and love your fellow neighbors and your brother. Do not hit thy brother. Do not commit wars and violence. You see, what we got to do is we got to come together and bring peace to this planet. when my spaceship landed and I come out. Blah, 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 blah. We must learn to speak English, to speak peace and love into the atmosphere. Blah, 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 blah. That's what life is about. That's what life is about. Peace and mediation. So smooth, baby. So smooth. There's no need to smack your brother. Try loving your brother. That's a good speech. Oh, boy. I feel better now. My mother told me that story when I was a kid. But now it's time to go into advanced storytelling. The final 4 stories of mediation this week. And I promise you, you want to hug your brother. And not smack your brother. Ooh, 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 ooh. When I was just a little boy, my mama bought me a tree. She gave me a story. Let's get to it.
Story number 5. Is the U.S. economy headed into a recession? Big question. Inflation is a top concern for economists, folks. According to a Fox Business report, consumer sentiment has hit a decade-long low, with inflation fears mounting. One CNN business report cites that the bond market as the next indicator that we are entering a recession. So usually the bond market shows where we're headed, and they're saying that it's showing that we may be headed for a recession. Now, when talking recession, it's always good to reference the definition, so I am going to do that. It states that a recession is a period of temporary economic decline during which trade and industrial activities are reduced, generally identified by a fall in the GDP in 2 consecutive quarters, folks. The COVID-19 shutdown seemed to have dealt a heavy blow to the economy, and we're having a hard time recovering. That's why story number 5 made it this week. Big head. Story number 6. How bad is America's education problem? Some states are coming to the rescue by giving teachers pay raises while others are not. Either way, teachers are making headlines by demanding better pay and better circumstances in their classrooms, better health, and all that other good stuff that comes along with being a teacher. College students have also been in the headlines because paying college bills still seems to be another brewing topic of discussion and a topic to tackle. Now, what is keeping this story alive are the people falling and following the falling victim, and the opposite of the people following the rules. So what's keeping the story alive are the people who are following the rules and doing the right thing, and they're making it very, very harder for the people who need to get a head start but still can't seem to keep up. So the people who are breaking the records, getting perfect grades, paying off their college loans, getting scholarships, they seem to be making it very, very harder for the people who can't seem to keep up. And that's why story number 6 almost made the top 2 this week, because education, knowledge is power. Big head. Story number 7 in the top 2 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. I'm battling through it all. Through the fire, mediation through the wall. I'm battling to get through all the stories, to get through another week. I'm going through over 200 or more stories to keep you informed. I'm navigating the news just for you, to give you the top 2 stories this week. And here we go. I'd like to hit goes. Story number 7. Is the energy story the biggest story brewing? The energy story. Electric vehicles, all that stuff. To get a clear picture of what is taking place in the energy sector, it may be wise to look at the cause. So here are some talking points. The world's top climate scientists voice their concerns about climate change, and they blame fossil fuels as the problem, thus sparking some of what we see now. Another talking point. World governments then began to target carbon emissions, which were cited as a key source for climate change. There's another one. So they talking about people driving the cars and causing the world to warm up. Then there's another one. World pollution also hit the stage. Then you had strange weather patterns as another sign, and then this is what they said. Now, then a wave of data relating climate concerns to respiratory health issues was all we needed for them to finally just decide we're going to try to take some action. Now, this is all the things, all the forces highlighting the climate crisis. Or is it really a crisis, or is it all made up? That's what the debate is about. Now, all of these concerns led world governments to channel tax dollars towards cleaner and more efficient energy, which some people say it really is not going to help, because no matter where you go, you have to get energy from somewhere, thus keeping the story in the top 8. If climate change is man-made, this was keeping this story alive, because that's the biggest question. That's why Stern Rate made it to the top 2 this week. Big headline. Story number 8 in the top international headline and developing news story that made it this week for you. Here we go again. Top story for you. Oh, don't you feel better? Don't you feel better? Story number 8. Here we go. Is the American workforce going dry? That's a big question. Big question. 11.4 million available job openings was the number last month. This story highlights the American workforce issue and the big concern about the workforce going dry. Now, there are various reasons why people are not filling these jobs opening. One of the reasons could be lack of awareness. Do people even know where there are job openings? Another could be circumstances. There could be a problem at home causing people to lose time time on the workroom floor. That means they probably can't get to work, or there's something going on at home causing them not to want to go to work. Or there could just be benefits. Nobody knows. So either way you look at story number 4, it's a real deal story making headlines because no country can survive without work, without currency flowing, money flowing, something working inside of the system. And that's why Stern Rate made it to the top of the week, because we've got to work. The job market, the workforce, the GDP, these are all simple elements or things that are involved in basic economics. That's why Stern Rate made it to the top this week. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local and international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something out of doing the research. As usual, if you want to show us some, I don't want to get too ahead of myself now. As usual, I like to thank I have to be polite. I like to thank all the news outlets, the journalists, the people on the front lines, the media, the news, all the people out there. I'm sure you know who they are. You deserve all the credit. I'm just the man in the middle, stuck in the middle, the mediator. If you want to show some support here at Method, it does not take much. All you have to do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or to sponsor a program, or you could always stop into the store, 5648 Market Street, Boardman, Ohio. Well, folks, that's it. I'm out of here. We'll look over 200 more stories next week to give you the top 8. Thank you for tuning in this week to Mediator with me, Brian West. Have a good week, everybody. Love that brother. Love that brother. Don't smack that brother. Have a good week, everybody. Thank you for tuning to the Mediator with me, Brian West. Peace.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.